Okay, guys, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and start. The ones that aren't here, we'll just have to watch the recording later. I'm Alan Hope. I'm your instructor. You can call me Dr. Hope, but I prefer Alan. That's my name. I've taught this class many times at Valley College. I've taught in the Cal State system for years, anatomy and physiology, nutrition there, anatomical classes, a lot of health classes, but I actually enjoy teaching at the community college the most, and especially nutrition, because it's a class that makes the biggest difference in your overall health and wellness. And it's a subject that's really misunderstood. So to alleviate your fears a little bit, this is not a difficult class. I taught it in the first summer session. I had a lot of A's, simply because there's a lot of opportunities to raise your grade. I have bonus assignments and things of that nature. But I'm going to show you a little bit of how to navigate through the class in Canvas, kind of the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to screen share. You don't have to do anything. You're going to be able to see what I'm looking at. You're looking at my screen, just as I am, right here. So you'll see a big white page. And I'm going to go to the class. Now, I don't know how it appears on your computer. It may appear differently on your computer. Mine's an ultra wide screen. If you can view it on a cell phone, it might be a little bit different. But this class, all of these tabs on the left over here, you really don't have to worry about any of them. There's 2 tabs that'll take you to everything. One of them is the home page. If I click home page, this is a home page. It's the same thing as the syllabus page. If I click syllabus, it's the same thing. This has everything you want. If you want to download the syllabus, you can do that. You don't have to, it's online. This has got a lot of information on nutrition. I've done a lot of computer programming before. I know how to use this inside out. I know this Canvas utility very well. Anyway, that's the home page. Now over here on the left, the modules tab is the one that is the most important one. If I go to modules, if I click modules, that takes me to where all the assignments are for the entire class. And each module has a name to it, like link to register for the free ebook. The ebook, I don't give tests from the book. I construct my own, but you need the book, and you can use the book on the test. The tests are open book and open notes, but you get the free ebook right here, student registration. You click that, follow the link, it'll tell you what to do. I don't know, it probably asks for your student email, something else. And then you'll be able to get the book, the nutrition book. Why do you need it? Because you can use it on the test, and you mainly need it to work the study guides. The study guides are made, the test is made from the study guides, and you can use the study guides on the test, and I'll go over that in a minute. But all of these meetings, now remember, I'm in the modules section. All of these meetings are recorded. I'm recording this right now. I know how to do video editing. I edit at the end, and I post it in this right here. See where it says summer of 2022, spring 2023. Ooh, I should have said summer 2023. I'm actually going to edit that. Give me 1 second. It would confuse people. Anyway, if you click on that, all of the meetings, this looks complex, but it's really not, are recorded and in this module. For example, today is, what is today? July the 3rd, right here. If you click this right here, it will take you to this area here. Nothing's recorded yet because we're having the meeting. I put it on YouTube. If you want to watch it on YouTube, you can click it there. It's on the Zoom website, which is what all the colleges use. You can click it and watch it there. It has a transcript off to the right, but you don't have to do any of that because I actually download the actual video and put it right here. And you just click on it. So let's say you miss one of the meetings. You say you're going to be gone for the next one, July 11th. I'm going to have them once a week. Now this is actually 8 days. I try to have them on Tuesday. But if you miss July 11th, you click July 11th. All of that will be right there. July 3rd, like June 13th. That's my last session. Ooh, did I not meet on June 13th? June 20th, 13th, June 6th. These aren't pulling up like they should. Let me find one that actually has something in it. I'll have to double check this. Well, yeah, for example, April 11th, that's going way back. It's on YouTube, the Zoom website, and there's a video. They'll all look like this. Why this one is not pulling up, I'm actually not sure. Got me puzzled right now because I actually had meetings. Oh, I know what it is. I haven't transferred all this data from the previous class to this. So I actually need to do that. But anyway, so you get lost again, go to the home page. Here's the home page. Go to modules, just where we're at. That's the meetings. That's the register for the book, or registration for the book. This is just information. This is the syllabus, which you can get on the home page too. This is all interesting stuff, but this is where the assignments are. Now, you can read these if you want. You don't have to. But the ones that have points, and this is in your syllabus, that's part of your grade. There's a little quiz associated with these meetings, which you're going to get 100% on because we're going to take it as a class. Because I give you 3 number codes, and I'll show you how to do it. It takes like 1 minute. We'll do it at the end here, but the people not here, they'll have to watch the meeting, get the 3 number codes, and take it on their own. But that's worth 15 points. There's a graded discussion, which if you click on that, this is all this week. Now, it's going to seem like there's a lot. But remember, this is a 4-week class, so everything is really compressed. There's 4 modules, or 4 weeks, modules 1 through 4. So this is just an intro. Click on that. It'll tell you what to do. It's just like you introduce yourself, etc. You get free 20 points just for doing that. You just follow the directions on it. These will tell you sometimes to reply to other students. So if it says reply to other students, in a sentence or 2, say, hi, I'm the same major or from the same area, whatever. Just read it. It'll tell you what to do. I'm scrolling down through here, the ones that have points. This one is a little video, and it has a little 10 questions at the end that are not difficult. The video is very short. It's like 15, 20 minutes. This says 0 points. That means you don't have to do it, but it's a bonus assignment. It's worth 25 points. It's worth it. Read it and do it if you have time. I think you will. This one's another discussion, the benefits of alternate day fasting. That's worth 20 points. There's another little video right here and another little discussion. The first week is not bad. The first chapter test is not until the 2nd week. It's worth 200 points. Where is that? Right here. Now, the most difficult part of this class, let me take it off screen share. one second. Okay. The most difficult part of this class, and it's not difficult, are the study guides. The study guides, if you read up on them and answer them, you can answer most of it. Some of them are a little bit vague, but they're all from the book. If you do the study guides and have them when you take the chapter test, you'll do fine on the chapter test. I had a lot of high grades on the chapter test because they did the study guide. The study guides are what take the most time in this class. You can download them all. If you go to the module section, scroll to the bottom, all the study guides are there. You can download them and start working on them. And I'm going back to screen share. I've set up, I'm going to home, it's in modules, a room every, let me see if I can find it. Study guide room. Right here, if I click on this is optional. I click on this. This room, it's Zoom website, is open every day, including the weekends from 1 to 5. It was open today. If you click here, it'll take you to that room. I set up this room so you can work on the study guides together. So if you go there tomorrow between 1 and 5, you don't have to stay the whole time. You can show up at 1:30, leave at 1:45, whatever you want to do. And you can use your camera and video, get with other students and say, I'm going to work this one, you work that one, and exchange the study guides by email or text or within Canvas. There's a lot of ways to do it. That way you don't do them all yourself. Yeah, I mean, literally you could do, there's around 20 or 20 something study guides. Don't do them all. Just do a few and then have somebody else do a few and then exchange them. And then you have them for the test. You can do them all, but it takes longer. You click on that, it'll open up a Zoom room. If you go there and nobody's there, there's nothing you can do. If you go there at 1 and nobody's there, then go back at 1:30 or 2, or try to get a hold of students, the class. If you go over here to where it says people or students, it'll give you their email. And I think you have access to that. Yeah, I'm looking over here. Let's see, people, I'm not really sure. If you go to people, it'll tell you, yeah, their name, but Valley emails are all set up the same anyway. That's everybody that's in this class. That's a lot. I don't know how you can get their email. I'm sure you can. If you know their name, it's first letter and then last name. However Valley uses email, I'm not really sure how they actually set it up. But you can, it has that, and then Student Connect. Maybe you can get the email that way. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what that is. No, that's appointments. You don't need that. But anyway, so let's say you're navigating, you get lost. You say, oh, I'm going to go back. This takes me to the home page. Same thing, home page, syllabus page. And remember, go to modules. All of the assignments open up Sunday at midnight, and they close Sunday at midnight. You have the entire week to do that week's assignments. You don't have to do them on Monday or Tuesday. In other words, this is due next Sunday at midnight. We'll do it tonight because that's a short quiz, but this is due Sunday. Well, there's no points here. That's not due. This one's due tonight because we're going to take it tonight, but it's actually not due till Sunday at midnight for those that are not here. This is due Sunday at midnight, all the ones with points, and there's not many. These are pretty short. Sunday at midnight, the bonus points, you say, oh, Sunday at midnight. If you click on these, it'll tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. You can't miss it. There's videos are downloaded. You don't have to go to YouTube or anything. There's a link to it. It'll actually take you there. So I'm in the modules section. Now the study guides are in the module. I mean, you can click them and download them here if you want. Like for example, chapter 1, if I click that, it's online, but it's easier to download it. Click it right here and download it. and then you can print it out and write answers on it and have it for the study, have it for the test. It's all right here online, but you can't write on it. This is just kind of redundant here. Download it, but you don't have to wait to get them all from here. This only lists the ones for test number 1. If you scroll down to the bottom of modules, it'll, where are they at? Let's see. Those are PowerPoints. Those will help. You don't necessarily need them. Study guides. Module 24, at the bottom of the module section, here's all the study guides. And if you click on it, you can print them out. You can view them online, but you can print them out. That's a lot, but they're not difficult. This is the actual test. You work the study guides, you're going to make a good grade in this class. I guarantee you. People that do the study guides do very well on the test. Now, the test is open book and open notes. These are the notes. I mean, I do have students sometimes that don't do the study guides, that try to look up all the answers, but you probably won't, you'll run out of time. On the test, the chapter test, you have 2 chances. So if you don't do that well in the first one, you have another chance. I give you 2 chances and it'll take the highest grade. It'll record both of them, but if one's higher than the other, it'll automatically drop the lowest grade. So that's the way the class is set up. Now, for example, if I go to grades, this is what I see, not what you see. I can do this tonight because we don't have any grades yet. But some people have already started this, which is good. This is the intro. This little piece of paper means I need to grade it. You're going to get all 20 points as long as you answer it out of 20. And then Sunday at midnight, which is the following Monday, you'll see a grade here. This says F. I don't know why. It should be F. That's bonus points. It's going to go to something ridiculous. Yeah, 833%. Somebody already figured out how to get sound bonus points. All of these are bonus assignments. It'll say only worth 0.1, 0.2, 0.1, but it's actually worth much more than that. It'll tell you this right here is 20 points. That's 25 points. All of these make a big difference, and they're open the entire class. They're very interesting. This one has to do with nutrition, water, etc. This one actually doesn't. It's just interesting, but it is a bonus or whatever. And it's, I think it's worth your while to do it. It's going to seem like there's a lot to do in the class, but there's really not, because most of the assignments are simple. If you look at all these and go, oh my gosh, look at all this. Most of them are simple, and it says out of 0, bonus. Out of 0, bonus. Out of 0, bonus. Out of 0, bonus. You notice there's a bunch of those. And then these 15-point Zoom quizzes, those are basically automatic, 15 points. So you should be okay grade-wise. I don't think I've never had anybody make, if you want to make an A, I think you can make an A. Worst case scenario will be a B. If you do the material and you work the study guides, then I think you'll be in good shape. So I'm going to stop screen share a minute here. I want to talk a few minutes. I'm not going to keep you that long tonight, but about the nature of nutrition and this class specifically. I'm not an MD. I grew up in a medical family. I'm a PhD, but I'm not a respecter of somebody's degrees. I don't care how many degrees they have or don't have. I don't care what race they are. I don't care how old they are. I don't care what their sexual orientation is. I don't care what their political view is. I don't care what they look like. What I care about is, does that person know the material? Do they know what they're talking about? Do they know their stuff? Especially if they're teaching a subject. I'm not into the BS, a lot of BS and everything, including medicine. But I'm pretty good at figuring out from years of teaching whether the person actually knows what they're talking about and if it actually makes sense. A lot of what I'm going to tell you is going to be the opposite, or it's going to contradict advice you may get from other people, including some that are doctors, some that are registered dietitians, some that think they know. They may have published. I don't really care. The people publish all kinds of things. It's not accurate. There's so much misunderstanding, misinterpretation about nutrition and what's really going on in the body. And I can understand how people get confused on it, because you've heard this term, you can't see the forest before the trees. That's kind of what happens with nutrition. They focus on one little area and they forget the major concept of what's going on. That's called teaching whole to part, not part to whole. I believe in teaching whole to part, the whole concept. Try to understand that. And then the little parts you can kind of figure out. But it doesn't really matter. You don't have to know all the little parts if you understand the whole concept. For example, if somebody said, name the 10 functions of vitamin B1 and they could do it, that's great. They know about vitamin B1, but they may not understand nutrition. They may understand vitamin B1. I doubt they even understand how it interacts in the body, but that's a different area. So I'm going to start with the whole concept. Oh, you've heard the term, you got to think outside the box a little bit, because everything kind of revolves around this. You have to understand this to understand nutrition. When people start arguing with you or disagreeing or giving you their viewpoint of why something is healthier than something else, you need to have something you can fall back on where you can put what they're saying in context, the big picture. In anatomy and physiology, we kind of start to course like this, but this is nutrition. We are made of cells. We have about 100 trillion cells. Some books say 60 trillion. The number is irrelevant. It's a huge number. You can't even comprehend that number, nor can I. You can write it out. Doesn't mean you understand it. Some cells are really small. Some are much bigger than other cells, like fat cells. But 100 trillion, that's incredibly small. When you put them together and you think, oh my gosh, there's that many cells in the body. We are made of cells. Now, you can have a heart cell, a skin cell, a brain cell, which is a neuron, all kinds of cells in the body. But you take it like a heart cell and you put it with other heart cells, you have heart tissue. Then you have heart tissue, you put it together, you have a heart, which is an organ. Then you put the heart with arteries and veins and capillaries, and you have an organ system, the circulatory system. Then you put the circulatory system with the nervous system, the muscular system, skeletal system, immune system. There's a lot of different systems. You have an organ system, you have an organism. So you have organ systems that make up an organism, but you go all the way down to the cellular level. You have to understand what's happening with nutrition at the cellular level to understand what's really going on. Doesn't mean you need to know cellular biology, but you need to understand basic concepts. For example, suppose my carburetor was busted in my car and a guy says, oh, I'll replace your carburetor. He knows more about auto mechanics than I do. But suppose somebody else says, I can take your carburetor apart and fix the part that's broken because I know carburetors. That person knows more about auto mechanics than the other person because he can go to a deeper level. That is true with nutrition. Most doctors don't go that deep. They only understand nutrition from an anatomical level, how the intestine works, the enzymes involved. Surgeons know that, but the names of the muscles and stuff, sometimes they know them, sometimes they don't. But when you get to the cellular level, no, most of them don't know. I'm not saying they don't know certain medications, how to treat certain things, et cetera. They do, but you have to go deeper than that. I just know this. And I'm not saying they're not good doctors. That's a little bit of a different focus than figuring out what's really going on. Some doctors know, most don't, some do. My brother's a doctor. I have a younger brother who's a dermatologist. He said 90% of the students in med school that graduate are interested in money and prestige, not really helping people. And that's what he says. And I tend to agree with that. That doesn't mean some don't help. Helping and taking care of people is part of how they make their money. So I wouldn't interpret that too much. It's like they're doing it for goodness. Sometimes they're doing it for money. But anyway, I've tested many doctors that I've known, I've been involved with, and I'm really surprised at how little nutrition knowledge they have. They know medicine. Don't get me wrong, they know medicine better than I do. They don't know anatomy better than I do because I've taught it for years. But they know their area. I wouldn't claim to know what a cancer doctor knows as far as cancer goes. And nutrition cancer, I do. I would claim that. But so cells, 100 trillion cells. Cells live and die many times. We live and die once. Now, when I say live and die, they die and they're replaced by other cells. Some nerve cells can only live once and they're not replaced. Some actually can. There's some in the brain that actually can be replaced. They're starting to find out, but not all of them. So this is a natural process, cells dying off and being replaced by healthier, younger cells. Relatively recently, they've found in the DNA of the cell, the double helix, the code, the genetic code of every cell, which is the same. There's a genetic code for making an exact copy of you in every cell in your body, actually 2 copies. So if you have 100 trillion cells, then there's 200 trillion, you can make 200 trillion copies of you. But anyway, this genetic code or these genes, there's about 20,000 of them. They've discovered, that's the rungs on the ladder. You've seen the double helix. They've discovered a group of genes called the apoptosis genes. You don't need to know this yet because we'll go more into it later. But these genes, when they turn, genes are like light switches. When they turn on, you grow and develop. They've identified 100 and something genes, maybe it's 200, I don't know the exact number, involved in how tall you're going to be. That's programmed when you're born. You're not a certain height, but they turn on, 1 or 2 turn on, and then you grow a little bit, and then another group will turn on for the, up to, age 16, 17, 18, whatever the case may be. And then all those genes are expressed like a light switch, are on, and you're a certain height. Parents say, well, they seem to grow overnight. It's actually possible. Kids can grow as much as a 1/4 inch overnight because a handful of genes will turn on and they grow. The bones grow, osteoblasts, new bone tissues created, but and then they're dormant for a while. Then they grow and then they're dormant. But that's how genes work. Well, all development works like that. These genes, these apoptotic genes, apoptosis genes, what they do when they turn on inside of the cell, they tell the cell, kill yourself, commit suicide, because that cell's old, defective, cancerous, diseased, there's something wrong with it. And the cell knows it needs to die. Well, when it dies, it doesn't just burst its guts open and damage the surrounding cells. It breaks into little capsules called the apoptotic capsules, thousands of them. Surrounding cells are not damaged, and the capsules are reabsorbed and used for energy. The remains of that cell are recycled. That's called an apoptotic death. Necrosis is the other type of death. There's in between types. Necrosis, like when you cut your skin, smash your finger, cancer cells. It's a bad way for a cell to go because it takes other cells with it. Well, all cells in our body, including nerve cells, which some of them can't replace themselves, have genes that when they turn on, they tell the cell, kill yourself. Tell the cell, commit suicide. And this is how you stay alive. Without apoptosis, you would die in a matter of days. It's so dynamic. Nobel Prizes have been awarded in this area. It's so dynamic that you have about 50 billion cells per day that commit suicide. Where? Everywhere. Not just on the skin, because you can see those. Skin replaces itself. In your heart, in your bones, in tissue, nerve cells, in your brain, everywhere. Everywhere you have cells. The old cancer cells, the disease cells, they die and replace what's left. The surrounding cells make copies. The surrounding cells are healthy. They make a healthy copy. When you allow an old or diseased cell to live, it will make an old diseased copy, cancerous copy of itself. This apoptosis keeps you alive. It's 50 billion per day. That's about 1 million per second. Every second of your life, 1 million cells die. They commit suicide. And about 1% of them, they said, are cancerous. That's about 10,000. So every second of your life, 10,000 cancer cells die. All it takes is for one to slip through, and then you got a problem. But that's called apoptosis. It's very dynamic. It's very healthy. A lot of genetics has a lot to do with it. Anything that interferes with it, that slows it down, will lead to aging, accelerated disease. You will die younger. Diabetes, cancer will run rampant. All kinds of bad things will happen to you. You do not want to interfere with apoptosis. Now, you don't want it running at a high rate, but that's usually not the problem. It usually runs at too low of a rate. And then unhealthy cells are allowed to live, and you have unhealthy copies, and that's the origin of almost every disease and aging and all kinds of things. Now, this is really going to sound out there, but it's the truth. Normal, and when you tell people this, they're going to give you a hard time. Normal blood glucose level inhibits apoptosis. Now, you tell most people that, they don't know what you're talking about. All cells use one energy source, one main energy source, just like a car uses gasoline. Cells use glucose. Glucose is a simple sugar. It's the simplest of 6 sugars. There's more than that, but the book identifies 6. And that's your blood sugar level or glucose level. Your glucose level goes to 0, you're actually going to die in a matter of minutes, just like if your oxygen level goes to 0. But your body won't let that happen. It knows, regardless of your eating habits, it just won't let it happen. Just like it won't let you die from lack of oxygen. It can't do it. Drowning in a pool is a little bit different, but you can't hold your breath and pass out and die. It just won't happen. You'll pass out and start breathing again. Same thing with glucose. If you get so low, you pass out, lay on the couch, but you actually won't die. But when glucose level is normal, all cells taking glucose. Now, they can use ketone bodies, they can use fatty acids, but they prefer glucose. All cells have the ability to take in glucose. Now, what happens when you don't eat for a period of time is the glucose level or blood sugar level will start dropping in the bloodstream. It's not going to go dangerously low. You could be diabetic and be hypoglycemic. Diabetes is high blood sugar. Hypoglycemia is low. But people misuse those terms all the time. They're really talking about hypoglycemia, not diabetes. You can have both. When it gets low, that means every cell in your body has a little bit less glucose. It's not dangerous, but they're under stress. That's called hormesis, stress that has a positive adaptation. That stress will cause the weakest cells to commit suicide through apoptosis. That's the cancer cells and the old cells and the disease cells. It triggers the expression of those genes to tell the cell to kill itself because it's a weak cell. It can't handle stress, just like weak people can't handle stress. If you took away food from everybody in San Bernardino for a month, some people would be dead. But you can actually go 2 months, a normal white person would go 2 months without food before you starve to death. But some people wouldn't make it a month. Who wouldn't make it? Older people, people that are sick, people that are diseased. Well, at the cellular level, this is what you want. You have to drop the glucose level to sort of cleanse the unhealthy cells. It's very anti-cancer. So that leads to an eating style of more time between the meals you have, the healthier you will be. People ask me how much time. There's no exact answer. My answer is how much willpower do you have. Day on, day off is much healthier than eating every day. 1 meal a day is much healthier than eating 3. 5 or 6 little meals, not the way to go. I don't care what your trainer tells you, keep your glucose level normal, eat a bunch of little meals. That's absolute nonsense. People that say that, because that's no oscillation in glucose level. You need it to go down to stress the body. And then when you eat a lot, it's going to go up. Oscillation. To say to keep it normal is healthy, that's ridiculous. That's like me telling you, oh, get your heart healthy, just lay on the couch all the time. It's normal. No. You run, you get on a treadmill, you stress the heart and increase the blood pressure. That's hormesis. That makes you healthier. How do you make your immune system stronger? You get sick as a kid, exposed to viruses, bacteria. That builds up antibodies, makes your immune system stronger. No system in the body responds positively to normal. It only responds to stress in a positive way, and nutrition is no exception. So when they tell you, well, I don't eat a meal, if I skip a meal or I don't eat for a day, I get a headache, I don't feel good, I don't have any energy. That's not dangerous. That's symptoms of an underlying problem. That's the same symptoms that an alcoholic could have coming through withdrawal from alcoholism. You got to be real careful whether you're addressing the symptoms of something or whether you're addressing the problem. Medicine very often just treats the symptoms. And they do this with diabetes, especially with insulin. We're going to talk about insulin a little bit tonight, but mainly in another session, because that is really misunderstood. And I stand by this statement. I had one girl say, you're not an MD. I said, well, I'm a person, I'm entitled to an opinion. And it's not really an opinion, it's factual. But anyway, if you're on insulin, any member of your family is on insulin, any friend you have is on insulin, you had better be careful, because insulin will kill you. Insulin only treats the symptoms of diabetes, but it makes the disease worse. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying if you're on insulin, you can just come off of it because you could die. It depends on whether it's type 1 diabetic, how severe it is, how much insulin they're taking, etc. Using insulin to treat diabetes, unless it's type 1 and it's severe, I understand there are certain situations you have to, but a lot of times doctors jump right to insulin. They skip things like metformin, glucophage, and other drugs, but it's amazing. And don't even address the nutrition part of it. Using insulin to treat diabetes is insane. It's ludicrousy. That is equivalent to using alcohol to treat alcoholism. It will not work. If you have a friend that's an alcoholic in the hospital going through withdrawal, they got the shakes, they don't feel good. They massive headaches, throwing up. Yeah, this is alcohol withdrawal, bad enough. If it gets bad, they're not going to die. I know how to cure it. I'll sneak them in a beer. They drink it, they calm right down. No headache. They feel better. All I did was cure the symptoms, but I made their alcoholism worse. Using insulin, it does lower your A1C, it lowers your blood glucose level, you feel better, you function better. It treats the symptoms of diabetes, but it makes the disease worse because insulin is an anabolic hormone and it damages the insulin receptors on cells. They're overexposed to insulin. And so they don't work as well. Talk to any diabetic. They go up on the dose, and then pretty soon the doctor says, oh, sorry, we can't do any more. Medicine can't help you anymore. The person dies. They have fingers amputated, toes, arms, legs. They go blind. What caused that? Insulin? What are they using to treat it? Insulin? Think about it. Read up on it. Find out about it. So it's all nutrition related. I'm just amazed at some of the stuff that goes on in this field. It's just, I don't know why people come up with certain things. I understand they've been told by certain people that are in authority, and so they start believing certain things, and they find out it's sort of ridiculous. I'll give a little story here, and we're going to wrap this up in about 10 minutes, guys. When I taught anatomy and physiology at Cal State Northridge, I had a African-American guy, nice guy, sat in the front row. It was an 8 a.m. class. But he was 120 pounds overweight at least, big glasses, going to fall asleep all the time. So it gave me a note he was narcoleptic. And this is anatomy, it wasn't nutrition. We didn't talk about nutrition. We'll get into it a little bit. But he wanted to talk to me after class about his health. I said, sure. And so he was very honest, just came straight forward. He said, well, the reason I have narcolepsy is because they told me I have to eat breakfast before your class because I'm diabetic. It just raised alarm bells right then. I said, who told you that? He said, my doctor. I said, your doctor told you have to eat breakfast because you're diabetic? I said, the definition of diabetes is high blood glucose, not low. You eat breakfast, it goes up even more. And that's why you're sleepy. It's because food induces sleep. When you eat a big meal, you want to sleep. It doesn't give you energy. It gives you energy later. And he said, I never feel good when I eat breakfast, but they told me I have to do it. I said, number one, you need to quit eating breakfast. We went through all this stuff. He was on high blood pressure medication. All these things they were having him do was ridiculous. They're having him exercise, but exercise only helps a little bit. It's mainly nutrition. And so I said, forget all this stuff of what to eat, what not to eat. I said, that's not really what's important. It's about how often you eat. What you eat does make some difference, but it's how often. And I said, have you ever gone a whole day and not eating anything? He said, oh no. He said, I'm diabetic. That's dangerous. I said, it's not dangerous. I said, you may have a headache and not feel good, but it's not dangerous. You can go 2 months before you'll die. I said, well, I tell you what it's going to feel like. You will have symptoms, headache, you don't feel good, nauseous. Some people don't feel that way at all. If they're used to doing it, it's easy. In fact, you prefer it. I do it and I prefer it. I don't have any cravings at all on days I don't eat. I feel fine. I feel better, actually. But anyway, I said, I want you to not eat for a day. The next day, you can eat as much as you want. Eat some fruits and vegetables. You can eat more than normal, because the next day you're not going to eat again. In other words, day on, day off. There's a video on that in this class. Well, to make a long story short, he said, sure enough, the first day he didn't eat, he said he got so sick he threw up, he's low blood sugar. He said he barely made it, but he said it got easier. And during the course of the semester, he did that for the whole semester, about 4 months. He lost like 115 pounds. His diabetes went away. His vision totally came back. His blood pressure went to normal. A million things happened. His aches and pains in his joints went away. He didn't even look like the same person. Totally different. It was just that one change in his life. And he went back to his doctor, his diabetic doctor. And the guy said, well, what did you do? He said, I'm only eating every other day. My anatomy instructor said that. The doctor lectured him, said, that guy's not an MD. You shouldn't do that. I said, do you go to this guy anymore? Look at you. And he's lecturing you because of what I told you? I said, you got to go something. You got to get, and he said, I don't go to him anymore. That's the problem with nutrition, is that people do not know. And they start making statements. I can talk about studies with the best of them. You want to get into the details of vitamin C and D and all this stuff. People sometimes make that mistake with me, and maybe it's a Southern accent. They think, he doesn't know. Or he teaches at a junior college, so he can't be that smart. You'd be surprised. But the whole point of this class is for you to have a broad understanding of nutrition and kind of what's going on. There's a chapter in the book where it kind of starts off with like the sort of the myths and misconceptions. Let me give you a few, which are still promoted today. The most important meal of the day, people still say, is breakfast. That is ridiculous. I saw a thing on TV where they somehow justified it. There's no meal more important than any other meal. That's like saying the most important time to put gas in your car is in the morning. No, there's nothing wrong with it either. The problem with eating a full breakfast, a full lunch, full dinner, that's too many calories, and that's not enough time between meals for apoptosis to take place. It's just not enough. Now, you can eat healthy and do okay. You're not going to do as well as you could. They know where that came from. And it's true today. Kids that have breakfast in elementary school, they do better on tests, they're healthier, they behave better. But it's only correlational. So teachers think it's breakfast. It's not breakfast at all. Back in the 1700s, kids that had breakfast did do better, healthier, etc. And kids that didn't have breakfast didn't do as well. Back in the 1700s, kids that had breakfast, their parents had money. If they had money, they could afford housing and books and doctors. Those were the traits that went along with breakfast. That's why they did better. Breakfast was just in that category. It wasn't cause effect. Same thing today. Parents that make their kids eat breakfast or encourage them to probably are conscientious because they actually believe it helps. But they do the other things. They study, they buy books, take them to the doctor. And other parents may actually believe that breakfast is helpful, but they don't give a crap, so they don't try to encourage them to eat breakfast. But they don't do other things. They don't study with them. They don't take care of them medically. And so now there's exceptions to all this. But if you group those two groups of people, you say breakfast, no breakfast. It's the breakfast that's the reason. No, it's not. It's the other traits that go along with it. So people try to correlate things. Correlation doesn't mean anything. It just means something's related to something else. It doesn't mean cause effect at all. Common sense to tell you maybe there's some cause effect. Nutrition, they do it all the time. Vitamin C, you take it and you have less colds. That's true. But it's not the vitamin C. People that take vitamins tend to be healthier, etc. Vegans and vegetarians live longer and they're healthier because of their diet. No, they're healthier because anybody tells me they're a vegan or a vegetarian is health conscious. They probably exercise, don't overeat, take care of themselves. That's why they do better, not just their diet. Their diet is only a part of it. Let me give you an example on the absurdity of correlations. Correlations range between 0 and 1. 1 means every time, 0 means no relationship. 0.5 would be kind of a little bit of relationship. So here's one. Kids with bigger feet in elementary school do better in math. Most people say, oh, no relationship. The correlation is almost a 1, which means it happens almost every time. That sounds like you're being prejudiced toward kids with bigger feet because they do better in math. That's a fact. It's not debatable. Kids with bigger feet in elementary school do better in math. So if you're tutoring a kid, you look at his feet and they're small, just tell the parents, I can't take your money. It ain't going to happen. Now, is it the foot size or is there something else that's going on? The statement was true. Elementary schools grades 1 through 6. If you give the same test, the first 2 6th graders, 5th and 6th graders are going to do better because they've had more experience. Who has bigger feet? 5th and 6th graders. Kids with bigger feet do better in math in elementary school. That's a true statement. It's not because of their feet. They've had more experience and they're older. So that's why they're doing better. Having larger feet is just in that category. But you can make a statement like that and people do it all the time. So they get confused on nutrition. There's so many myths out there. Don't eat past 7. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Oh God, there's so many. Anybody think of any that you hear? Have you ever heard eat 5, 6 little meals a day? They promote that. Keep blood glucose level normal. Trainers sometimes will say that. You can eat that way and be somewhat healthy, but you're not as healthy as you could be. This food is good, this food is bad. That's all that stuff is really nonsense if you think about it. Food doesn't have a personality. People can be good or bad. A hamburger is a hamburger. It's not good one time, bad another time. It's a certain way. And it's only bad when you eat it and your glucose level is high. And then because it goes to fat cells, but if glucose level is low when you eat it, it's not really bad for you. So it depends upon you, not the food itself. You got to evaluate yourself first. All nutrition books will tell you 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. That's incorrect. They're all wrong. Because somebody says, what about, you can do messages. What about eating after a workout within 30 minutes to 2 hours? After work, there's nothing wrong with that. But once again, it's regardless of your workout routine, is a general statement. The more time you have between meals, the healthier you will be and the longer you will live. Now, you have to adjust that with workouts and etc. Some people, if I eat before I work out, I don't have any energy. On days I don't eat, I have more energy to work out. Some people can't do that. I can because I've been doing it for a long time. Other people need a little bit. So it just kind of depends. But to tap into fat cells for weight loss takes about 18 to 24 hours. So if you eat lunch and you eat dinner 6 hours later, you're not burning from fat cells. But if you eat lunch, don't eat dinner, and get up the next morning and don't eat breakfast, your energy is coming from fat cells. That's pure weight loss. That's the reason the more time between meals you have, the more fat cells will be needed for energy, the more weight you will lose. I've known people that they don't have time between meals, they don't have enough time, but if they work out, they eat healthy, they still have a weight problem. They're still healthy, but they're somewhat overweight because they don't tap into fat cells for energy. 18 to 24 hours for that to occur. That's a complex thing, but that again, once again, lends itself to more time between meals. And there's one of the pet peeves I have is like working with kids, not just kids, adults too. Never force a kid to eat when they're not hungry. I don't care if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I don't care if the kid's overweight or skinny. Most of that's heredity. Most of the weight is determined by heredity. Even as adults, about 90% is heredity, not what you eat. What you eat affects it, but it's mainly set by heredity, just like how tall you're going to be, set by heredity. If the kid's not hungry, don't force them to eat. That's a bad habit to get into. I don't care if you spend all day in the kitchen making stuff and they've been playing all day. If they're not hungry, they're not hungry. To say, well, you're going to have to wait till the next day. And then the next day, they'll be so hungry, they'll actually like what you make. The more hungry you are, the more you like different foods. But that's a bad habit to get into, forcing kids to eat at breakfast at a certain time, lunch and dinner. You're training them like Pavlov's dogs. We are not physiologically designed to eat that way. When I taught anatomy and physiology, we use cadavers. I point to 7 organs that point to the correct way to eat. And it's not 3 meals a day, and it's not even every day. Nutrition is DR. Dietary reference intake means you need a certain amount of vitamins and minerals in food over time. You don't have to have them at regular intervals. For example, without vitamin A, you will go blind. How long does that take? About 3 years. If you don't have any vitamin A for 3 years, you'll go blind. So you don't need it daily. You have enough vitamin B12 stored in your liver to last for 2 years. You'll starve to death way before that. Your body has a reserve of vitamins and minerals to keep you alive for at least 2 months. Because if somebody normal weight doesn't eat for 2 months, they starve to death. They don't die from lack of vitamins or minerals. They don't go blind from lack of vitamin A. Their bones don't fall apart from lack of calcium. They starve to death, no glucose. So apparently, you have at least 2 months of reserve to keep you alive that long, because you don't die from those other things. So to think that you have to replace them daily doesn't make sense. It's like driving your car around. Do you use some brake fluid? Yes. Do you replace it? No. That's like vitamin C. You don't need to replace it every day. You need to replace it over time. Not the old thinking was RDA, recommended daily allowance. That's out. The things don't have to be daily. They need to be over time. The old food guide pyramid, that's called more obesity and ridiculous. They're saying you need this much of this food and this much of this food, etc. Even today, the USDA, the government, and their nutrition guidelines is absurd. I can't even look at it. Their food guide pyramid is called My Pyramid. Look at it sometimes. I have a link to it on the homepage. And they list 5 food groups. And they have dairy as a food group. What a scam. They're in cahoots with the dairy industry. Dairy is not a food group. Dairy is a food. There are 3 food groups: fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. Vegetables are not a food group. Fruits are not a food group. Your body only recognizes fats, carbs, and proteins. There's not 5. At the cellular level, that's all that's needed. Your body doesn't care where the food group came from. It comes from a food. The way you differentiate between a food and a food groups, you go to a restaurant, you don't order food groups. You wouldn't say, give me some protein, some carbs, and not too much fat. They go, what? Say, oh, the form of the food. You say a steak, a baked potato, and a salad. That's the food. But none of that is required. The food groups are required. Now, foods may contain all 3 food groups or just one or a combination. For example, a carbohydrate, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I need to touch on this. The books will tell you carbohydrates are sugars and sugars or carbohydrates are interchangeable. That's incorrect. That's why I don't use the book that much. I'll give you a better definition of carbohydrate. Carbohydrate's a plant. A plant. We need a lot of plant material because plants are fruits and vegetables and nuts and grains. You don't need a separate food group for each one. You need a variety of those things, but you need plant material. Fats are fats, we'll go into that later, and then proteins are basically amino acids, mainly in meat and cheese and nuts and things like that. But anyway, let's take the food avocado. Is an avocado a plant? Yes. Therefore, it has carbohydrates. Does an avocado have fat? Oh yes, it's got a lot of fat. Does an avocado have protein? It's actually got a decent amount of protein. Plants can have protein, so it has all 3 food groups. It has a variety of minerals and vitamins and phytochemicals in it. Water, so it's basically got everything. It's actually a pretty good food, but it's also high in calories. So, like a carrot. What is a carrot? A carrot is a plant? Yeah. Carbohydrates? Does a carrot have fat? No. Does a carrot have protein? Not much. Little trace amounts. So it's mainly a pure carbohydrate. So an easier way to think of carbohydrate is a plant, not a sugar. What is sugar? It comes from a plant, sugar cane, beets, things like that. So it's a carbohydrate. Sugars are carbohydrates, but they're not, they're interchangeable. Sugars are part of carbohydrates. You don't need a separate group for fruits and vegetables. They're not necessary. Now you can't avoid them both because you need some, but you need plant material. Fruits are plants, vegetables are plants, soy grains, soy nuts. That's where people get confused on, which one to have, which one's healthier, which one's not healthier. Don't get into the healthy, unhealthy food yet, because we'll get into that a little bit later. It depends on your glucose level. If it's low, all food's healthy. If it's high, all food's unhealthy. Last statement on this, and then we'll do that little quiz. I'm going to wrap it up. Let me give you an example of healthy, unhealthy food. Apple. I say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. An apple is a healthy food. Does an apple have fat? No. So the question is, can you gain weight from an apple? Fat weight. The answer is yes. If your glucose level is normal and you eat an apple or a couple apples, it's not many calories, but it's some. It's changed the glucose, put in your bloodstream. Your regular cells will not take it in because they don't overeat. We overeat, our cells will not overeat. So the glucose stays in your bloodstream. Your body does not like this because that's the definition of diabetes. So what your body tries to do is get the glucose out of the bloodstream, but it's not going into the cells. Cells don't need it. So it goes to the liver changes it to fat and puts it in fat cells. So you gain fat weight from an apple, which had no fat, because you ate the apple when glucose was normal. Therefore, the apple was a bad food for you. Now, is the apple a bad food? No, the state you ate it in made it a bad food. Just like if you eat a cheeseburger, you haven't eaten all day, and glucose level is normal, cheeseburger has a lot of fat, none of it's going to end up in fat cells because your regular cells need it. So a cheeseburger, in that instance, is not a bad food, but you can't eat them all the time. That's where people get confused on good food, bad food, things of that nature. Like I said, I could debunk all these myths. I could have a whole class just talking about some of the myths that are out there, because that's what they like to do, these one-liners and talk about stuff, and then you find out that there's really no basis for actually what they're saying. I taught weight training for years, and they always like, what food will build muscle? No food will build muscle. Creatine phosphate, I don't know, all these muscle this, and all these certain amino acids involved. You can take them, you're blue in the face, it's not going to build muscle. Two things will build muscle: heredity, number one, your hormone level, and working out. But I get sarcastic. I tell my class, it's usually the guys, sometimes the girls, usually the guys, will say, well, what else will do it? I said, well, anabolic steroids will do it. I said, I'll show you on the internet where you can get them. From New Zealand, a pharmacy. You can inject them directly into the muscles, and I guarantee you'll bulk up. They said, really? I said, yeah. You have to lie on the form, but I can tell you right now, if you do this, you're going to die younger, but you'll be buff. They'll say, what do you mean die? I said, you have heart disease, cancer, liver problems. Don't worry, you'll be buff. You start doing it in your 20s, you may die in your 30s. And they're like, really? I said, oh yeah. You increase the hormone level, especially steroids, anabolic steroids, that'll do it, but nothing else will. I'm being sarcastic when I say that, but that's about the truth, because a lot of that, so much is that heredity. Nothing you can eat is going to build muscle. It just doesn't work like that. And the strongest animals in the world, the most muscular, are probably gorillas, and they're vegetarians. And you look at the muscles on them, they're vegetarians. So that's sort of a different issue. Guys, what I want to do now these meetings are recorded. So I'm going to post this by tomorrow, recorded. It'll be in the section where you can view it. But I'm going to do a screen share, and we're going to do this little quiz. So those that aren't here, they're going to have to go back and watch this and get the numbers. So if I go to the module section, if you're on your computer, you're able to see what I see. But in a minute here, you can go to the module section. This is week number 1. Module 1.2. Now, when you start this, don't start it yet, because it gives you like 2 minutes to take it. But I'm going to give you the answers right now. And it'll show 100% when you do this. So I have to do preview, hold on. No, I have to edit it. This is an instructor view. Okay, so on a piece of paper, code number 1 is 434. Make a note of this. Code number 2 is 233. Code number 3 is 324. See where it says correct answer? So, everybody got that? Okay, so you'll go back, when we end this meeting, you'll go to the modules section and you'll click on this quiz right here and you'll take it. And then you'll notice that you're going to get 100%. This is a good way to start your grade off. It's worth 15 points, but it's given by percentages. And you have the rest of the week to complete these assignments and work the study guides, and you'll be in good shape. Any issues you run into, message me in Canvas. I respond to those better than email. You can send an email, but I think it's a little bit easier. Does anybody have any questions? I haven't allowed for many questions tonight. If you have a question, throw it out there, because the rest of the class is probably wondering too. Anybody? So everybody knows? Yeah, go ahead.
What days are the meetings going to be?
Every Tuesday.
Okay.
So the next meeting will be on Tuesday, right here, July 11th. We have 4 of them because there's 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
So every Tuesday, the main thing is work these little assignments and work the study guides. Remember, I set the room up for the study guide. You can download the study guides. You'll be in good shape. This is not difficult. All this stuff is pretty simple. It's just mainly a matter of doing it. But you can start the bonus assignments if you want, and bonus videos. I promise you, they are interesting. They are not boring. It's like watching a movie, and the questions are simple. And those bonus videos, even if you miss most of the questions, it's not going to lower your grade. If you missed every question, it wouldn't raise your grade at all. But that's not going to happen because half of them are true false. That's the ones. That's the one. But not here. Let me go to grades. I don't know how it shows in yours, but that's all of these right here. The reason I have to make it 0.1 is because that way it says like 0.9. That means they got 9 out of 10, and I change that to points. It doesn't stay 0.1. It'll explain it. This is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. All of them are very interesting. Somebody's already taken the Zoom. Somebody already did it. Percentages. Okay, guys. That's it. So I'm going to end the meeting. Somebody said they would, hold on, eat the whole apple with the seeds. What was that? Eat the whole apple with the seeds, and the seeds are good for you? I'm not sure. Be careful about apple seeds. Did you know if you eat it take a bunch, but apple seeds have cyanide in them. If you eat like a handful of them, it'll actually kill you. But an apple only has a few. But if you take the seeds out and put them in a bowl and then try to eat them all at once, you would actually die. Peaches are the same way. They have cyanide. Almonds are the worst. For almonds, the seeds, undeveloped almonds, can actually kill you, which we'll actually talk about that later. But they're real bitter. They're green. Make sure almonds are ripe when you eat them if you have an almond tree, because they're very toxic with cyanide. So anyway, guys, I'm going to end this meeting. I'm going to record it. Take your little quiz, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.